disruptive.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. So the White House Correspondents Dinner happened recently, and it is just a corporate sludge, self-indulge orgy, if you will, as pathetic as it sounds. It really is just a god-awful, pathetic, self-indulged, ego-fragile, pat on the back for these people that are just kissing up to the establishment. It's seriously like getting a handshake after you blow yourself. That's the tone that comes from an event like this. And before we get into the absolute disaster that was getting Colin Jost to be the upfront comedian that fell himself flat on face with his rambling, let me just, before we get into that, I want to show you the many, many years of how far this event has just decimated on itself. Because we know about the White House Correspondents Dinner. We know the cultivization it brings. We know about the people that attended and who gets invited and who gets celebrated and just the kind of slew that comes out of this. It's supposed to be an event that honors journalism, but you never see any accounts of, recognizing that Julian Assange is still being tortured. We don't have any recognition of Gonzo Lira that just passed, being detained in a Ukrainian prison. We don't see any dedication for the independent journalists that are out away from corporate media, doing their job, doing their due diligence by going to these places and investigating for themselves and being censored and silenced out by the rest of the establishment. We see, honoraries like Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes and Lawrence O'Donnell and Anderson Cooper and those cretins that are literally just getting a pat on the back for repeating the same goddamn talking points that the establishment is blurting in her face, which is not journalism. It's stenographer. So here's to go down memory lane. This is what they considered funny back in the day.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Nope, no weapons over there. Maybe under here.
And that was the entire room laughing at George W. Bush making joke about the big, massive lie at the beginning of the millennium that massacred millions of people. And they're all laughing. That's what they considered comedy at an event like this. That's what they considered hilarious. We suckered the entire nation into manslaughtering millions of people. What great liars we are. We're such great psychopaths. That is what kind of presence an event like this is. It is just an absolute disgrace. And it's actually so much so disrespectful to the act of journalism that it is actually perceiving it as an accomplishment. It's the worst for journalism to have an event like this and laughing at the fact that, we manipulate people so we go into war. The whole room laughed. The whole entire room, both Democrats, Republicans, and the media, all of them have laughed at that. And as years have gone by, we have seen, many different comedians approaching this a lot with the mainstream establishment, like Stephen Colbert, Conan O'Brien, Wanda Sykes. I think Seth Meyers was on one year. Joel McHale, I saw a clip of that once. Like, the slew of these comedians that are supposed to roast these people. They're supposed to be like the court jester of the kingdom. You're invited there to make jokes at each other. And a lot of the time, these comedians are just doing milquetoast comedy. Like, they're barely touching the spotlight. They're barely pushing the envelope. Until there was one individual, one female comedian, that was able to do that in 2017. 2017 or 2018. I don't remember exactly when this took place. But Michelle Wolf, female comedian, was able to somewhat push the envelope on this. Very, very slowly push the envelope. And here's just an example of some of the things she was able to slowly glide herself, kind of open up a little bit more on the absolute absurdity of this criminal class. Watch this.
You guys are obsessed with Trump. Did you used to date him? Because you pretend like you hate him, but I think you love him. I think what no one in this room wants to admit is that Trump has helped all of you. He couldn't sell steaks or vodka or water or college or ties or Eric. But he has helped you. He's helped you sell your papers and your books and your TV. You helped create this monster, and now you're profiting off of him. And if you're going to profit off of Trump, you should at least give him some money because he doesn't have any. Trump is so broke, he grants pussies because he thinks there might be loose change in them. All right, like an immigrant who was brought here by his parents and didn't do anything wrong. I got to get the fuck out of here.
So it cuts off short there, but at the end she mentions about Flint, Michigan still has no clean water. That was like her last statement before she left the state. That was her pushing the envelope. That was her attempting to push the envelope, at least. And that's just a short clip of it. She also bashed the Democratic Party and CNN and went after, the printed press. So she was able to go a little bit further off key than most comedians that attend an event like this, which is it was interesting and fascinating. So fascinating that they panicked. And if you saw in the audience there was a couple people that laughed at Michelle Wolf's jokes. You could see that they were cringing. You could see they were cringing because, oh my God, what are you doing? This comedian is actually making jokes about us. You can't do that. You can't point out the obvious. Of course we're making profits off Trump, but we're supposed to hate Trump, right? That's part of the collective orgy that is the establishment, right? Even Les Moonves pointed that out to us. Trump was going to be bad for the country, but great for CBS. It was going to be great for television. It was going to be great for all the networks and all the printed press and the media and the establishment, and people could sell books and share scandals with each other. It was so great for them. So she pointed that out, and they had a meltdown, so much so that they gave up on comedians. Because Michelle Wolf said jokes like that pushed a bit of the envelope, that actually put a spotlight onto the kind of people that were at this event, that they said the White House Correspondents Dinner has given up on comedians. This year's gala will feature a new kind of MC, a biographer by the name of Ron Chernow, apparently in hopes that he will be less controversial than last year's host, Michelle Wolf. Just to make it even more dull. Just to make this event even more pathetic and dull. Because the comedian was too much for them. That they had to go to a historian to bore the audience even more. But luckily, like they say in Hollywood, when things go away for a bit, they tend to come back. They tend to reboot it. So last year, they had on Trevor Noah, which Trevor Noah, of course, corporate comedian, doing the same goddamn BS, kissing up to the establishment as any other corporate comedian that would get invited to this. And now here comes Colin Jost, the correspondent on Saturday Night Live, Weekend Update. And here he is, falling flat on his face. Colin Jost, who is about as edgy as room temperature tepid water. I swear to God, this guy is just a joke of a joke. And here's Colin Jost doing his best material to kiss up to Joe Biden. Listen to this.
He voted for you, and the reason that he voted for you is because you're a decent man.
So that is the court gesture that's supposed to be there to mock the presidency, mock the administration, doing a ramble about the fact that my family voted for you because you're a decent man. Joe Biden is a decent man. A man who is siphoning the country to assist in 3 wars. Actually, it's more like 2 wars and a genocide. The man is so decent. The man's so decent that he goes on a morning radio show and yells at a black guy, "You don't vote for me, you're not black." That's such a decent man. A decent man who crushes down on union strikes. He's such a decent man. A decent man who allows a disaster like East Palestine, Ohio to occur and doesn't even bother to show up. A decent man. That's coming from the comedian. The comic is praising Joe Biden of what a decent man he is. And now you know why a person like Colin Jost has a lucrative career in a place like this. Because they don't want they don't want controversy. Oh my God, I don't want the spotlight on me. I don't want people to know actual truths about me. Oh my God, how dare they actually be funny? Let's get a milquetoast, goddamn pathetic buffoon to stand up on stage and praise me. Like, oh my God, like even the Howard Stern clip we showed was a little more edgier than this. That's how sad it is.
My grandpa voted for decency, and decency is why we're all here tonight. Decency is how we're able to be here tonight.
First of all, there's no decent person that attends an event like this. The decent people get weaved out of an event like this. They get thrown out. The last decent individual that I actually saw at a place like this was a fantastic journalist by the name of Randy Credico, who attended this event and was kicked out because he mentioned Julian Assange. A journalist. Is that amazing that you mention a journalist at a journalist event and you get kicked out? What celebration is there? And no one covered it. No one bothered to mention it. No one covered it. No one wrote it in notes or mentioned about anything. About the fact that you're throwing out a journalist for mentioning Julian Assange, another journalist, for stating obvious facts to people. This is just such a disgrace to the practice of journalism, to the practice of media, to the entire nation. It's such a disgrace. And here you have Colin Jost falling flat on his face, basically offering to blow Joe Biden. This is what it is. Like he's such a decent man. That's why my grandfather voted for you. Because you're such a decent man. Such a decent man. I don't know any other decent other people that scream at the audience and tell them that they're a pony-faced soldier butt kicker. What did he say there? I don't even remember. It's just so stupid. Or how he went to a swimming pool and told about how kids were touching his leg. He's such a decent man. Such a very decent man. Jesus Christ.
Decency is how we're able to make jokes about each other and one of us doesn't go to prison after. We go to the Newsmax after party. And when you look at the levels of freedom throughout history and even around the world today, this is the exception. This freedom is incredibly rare, and the journalists in this room help protect that freedom, and we cannot ever take that for granted. So, Mr. President,
God.
I thank you for your decency on behalf of my grandfather, and I thank all of you, almost all of you, for your decency as well.
God, that's That's sad even for him. That's sad for even him. An SNL character going up on stage, and it's so goddamn embarrassing. Friggin' terrible. And it's so terrible that even the New York Times couldn't save this. The New York Times even called out Colin Jost on how stupid this was. New York Times couldn't even save the White House Correspondents Dinner. And they're part of the slush fund establishment that wants to give themselves a handshake after blowing themselves. The New York Times even calls out Colin Jost on how stupid he was. Calling Joe Biden a decent man after all the crap that we've been through for the past couple of years. He's a decent man. Going back as 2020 when he was campaigning and telling a bunch of young people as they're about to enter the world of democracy that I don't care about you. I know you're, excited to be adults and you want to vote in your first Democratic election. I don't care about you, but vote for me. He's such a decent man for the country. As Howard Stern says, he's the father. He's a father figure for us. A pathetic, loud, almost demented, actually physically demented. I shouldn't even say almost. He's demented, drooling piece of crap that he is. He's the father. He's fathering this country into absolute absurdity, insanity, and the Armageddon. Yay. So, even the big guy, Big Donnie, put this on Truth Social. He said, the White House Correspondents Dinner was really bad. Colin Jost bombed. And Crooked Joe was an absolute disaster. Doesn't get much worse than this. And I agree with that. I agree with that tweet. Or that truth. What do they call it? A post, I guess, on Truth Social? They don't call it a tweet. I agree with it, because that was just, when you're the court jester, you look at when back in the day, the kings and queens, medieval times, when they bring on a jester and they make fun of the king and queen. That was the whole purpose of having a comic there, was to lighten the mood of all the horrible things that the monarchy was doing to the people. They were supposed to expose that. That's the kind of point of comedy. You're supposed to be punching up. You're supposed to be shedding a spotlight on the most uncomfortable realizations on people. That's the whole point of comedy. Not to be there and applaud and say that this person is such a decent man, even he's the most demented supervillain we've had ever. It is just absolutely pathetic how Colin Jost fell flat on his face. And here was outside the event, which is probably the most entertaining thing about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This was the true action of an event like this, was the protest of free Palestinian protesters outside this event. And this guy, Adam Inginger, pointed out, saying, protests for ending the slaughter of Palestinians at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is growing over 1,000 people, and here now, and still growing. So here's what happened here. Look at these people. Walking in, don't give a crap. So, and of course, the crowd is chanting bloody correspondents. This is what they are. They're going to the ball. They're going to dance. They're going to laugh. They're going to pretend, ha, 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 everything's so great for me. I did such a fantastic job for doing everything I was supposed to do by the establishment. And meanwhile, you are doing the worst for humanity. And I also gotta love, there's the one lady there that has the CBS sign. That's kind of interesting. Never see that on a poster. It's just, again, look at this. They don't even look over. They don't even bother to bat an eye, look over, see what the crowd is doing there. They don't care. They simply do not care. And these are supposed to be journalists in the regards of you. These are the people that they tell you that they're doing hard work to get you information. No, they're doing it for themselves. These are ego-fragile, piece of garbage narcissists that gather in a room together to pat themselves on the back for attempting to blow themselves, and they think that they're doing the Lord's work, when really they're just doing the pathetic, absolute absurdity to the rest of humanity. Like, that is the White House Correspondents Dinner in a nutshell. The fact that Michelle Wolf did a slight attempt to push that envelope in 2017, and they had such a heyday with it that they had to cancel the comic portion of this. Just shows how pathetic and empty, moralist cowards these people are. That they can't handle the truth. They can't handle real journalism. They can't handle the idea that maybe they're part of this problem. Because they're such ego-fragile babies walking into this event all dressed up to the nines, pretending that they give a damn about anything, when really they're just self-indulged in their own excellence. And like I said, you're at a journalistic event and not a damn word about Julian Assange or Gonzo Lira or any other independent outsider investigator that's actually risking their lives to go to the scenes of crimes, go to these war-torn countries and actually investigate and give us important information. None of that ever gets disclosed. None of that ever gets publicized in an event like this. Which shows that this is a disgrace to journalism. Utter disgrace to journalism and humanity as a whole.